A ward superintendent is arrested for an allegedly illegal gun sale. The finalists for a city casino are asked to put up big money up front, and ethics concerns in the Cook County Assessor's race. All that and more in tonight's Spotlight Politics. Welcome back to Amanda Vinicky, Heather Sharon, and Paris Schutz. So what we're talking about here is 45th Ward Superintendent being arrested for allegedly selling a machine gun. Paris, what can you tell us about this story?
Well, his name is Charles Sakanich. He is the right-hand man of Alderman Jim Gardner there in the 45th Ward. He's charged with allegedly possessing this weapon and trying to sell this machine gun on city time. Now, while Sakanich, as you look at Gardner there, what Sakanich will say in his defense is that this was an antique. It belonged to his late World War II veteran grandfather, and he tried to sell it as an antique, but the feds said it was easily convertible to being able to be used. We know from what we reported about 9 months ago, his house was raided by federal agents. They recovered multiple weapons and rounds of ammunition. And this is very intriguing because we and the Chicago Tribune have also reported that Alderman Gardner himself is under federal investigation. So what that says is that this is about getting Sakanich to cooperate in that investigation. Even though it was the Attorney General, the Illinois Attorney General, that brought these charges, the feds are still, from what I understand, very involved in this case. We also know that Gardner himself has spent $75,000 in campaign money over the last 9 months to a law firm, Loeb & Loeb, and an attorney there by the name of Joe Duffy. That attorney is also working on the case of Ed Burke in his own corruption case. So getting back to Sakanich, these charges, he's facing, possible conviction here, possible jail time, and that is a way for federal agents to turn up the pressure to cooperate in what they're looking into with regard to Gardner.
I'll just jump in and say that Alderman Gardner came late to today's city council meeting and left early, which didn't give me a chance to ask him for a response to this question. I also think it's worth mentioning that the former Inspector General Joe Ferguson has said that it's inappropriate for aldermen to be able to hire these ward superintendents. And it's worth mentioning again that Sakanich is, as far as we know, still on the city's payroll, making more than $100,000 every year.
Paris, so you mentioned, the federal investigation, but we also know that Gardner and Sakanich are also facing a lawsuit from a former resident of the ward. Gardner's legal bills are mounting up. Of course, what can you tell us about that?
Certainly, yeah, legal bills mounting up. And this lawsuit from that former resident alleges that Sakanich, with the blessing of Gardner, basically filed a false police report against him. What he says is he found a cell phone at a convenience store with the intent to return it, find the owner. Sakanich had claimed that the phone was stolen, and according to this lawsuit, they filed this false police report and they went in to his house and kind of tried to mess with him. So that, from what we understand, is not related to what the feds are looking into here. So with respect to Sakanich, it's the possession of these weapons and the alleged trying to sell this weapon. And then with respect to Gardner, from what we understand, it's unrelated to weapons. It's about possible bribery and corruption issues in the 45th Ward. So as we mentioned, legal bills mounting, and it's kind of unusual to see public officials spend that kind of money on legal bills when there isn't any even indictment that we know of.
Okay, so earlier in the program, Heather, of course, we heard your reporting about the ward remap process, and based on what Alderman Jason Ervin told us yesterday here on Chicago Tonight, it seems a deal on the ward remap between the Black and Latino caucuses remains elusive. Here's a little bit of what Ervin said.
I'm hopeful that people do get an opportunity to sit down and come to a rational conclusion. But again, as I've stated before, the African-American community in this city will not live on its knees.
Now, Heather, supporters of the map backed by the Latino caucus had planned to turn today's city council meeting into a showdown over the ward map. That did not happen. What did? Why not?
Well, they didn't have the votes, and I think that Alderman Ervin's comments leave us in exactly the same place that we were in December, exactly the same place that we were in October. The fact of the matter is that you simply cannot create a ward map in Chicago because of its history of segregation that has 16 wards with a majority of Black voters and 15 wards with a majority of Latino voters. It's just not possible because of math and, geography. And that is what ultimately will be put to the voters if they can't come to a compromise in the next 20 days or so. And it's going to be a really fraught, hard-fought battle that many people are worried will prove racially divisive and polarizing.
Heather, does this mean a compromise over a ward map that would avert a referendum entirely is less likely?
It does, and I think we got an interesting glimpse at sort of the battle lines today with Alderman Nicole Lee. She's brand new to the city council. She backed the map supported by the Black Caucus. Now, both maps, the map supported by the Latino Caucus and the Black Caucus, would turn the 11th Ward into Chicago's first ever ward with a majority of Asian American voters. She hasn't said whether she will seek a full term on the city council. I would be very surprised if she didn't at this point, but we will have to wait and see on that. And I think that tells you where, people think that this battle is going, because there's no reason to pick a side if you think there's going to be a compromise.
Okay, so moving over to ethics, Alderperson Michelle Smith introduced a new ethics ordinance today. Paris, what would it do, and does it seem to have the support it needs to pass?
Well, as Heather and I were speaking earlier in the program, it increases fines for ethics violations for older people from $5,000 to $20,000, and it also provides money for the ethics board to be able to do its job more thoroughly. And based on the 4 older people we had last night, they all kind of said, well, I kind of like the principle of this. I like the idea in principle, but let's just see what's all about. So it says to me, they're in no hurry to move on this, because that $20,000 is quite a lot of money out of their campaign coffers, because we know they can use campaign money to pay their legal bills. And I know Heather was there today. It kind of didn't seem to really go anywhere.
It didn't advance, and that was somewhat of a surprise, I think, to Alderman Smith. But I think it shows you that, it's like the old cliche goes, is Chicago ready for reform?
Right.
Maybe not.
What do we know about the mayor's position on this?
Well, when I spoke with Alderman Smith, I asked her very directly, do you have the support of the mayor? She said she did. Now, Michelle Smith is Lori Lightfoot's handpicked ethics committee chair. It also has the support of the Board of Ethics. So those are 2 very important things to have. Whether the mayor will sort of launch a full-throated push for this ordinance, which it seems like it might need, I think that is an open question, because we're in an election year. So none of these questions or issues are easy, and all will cost capital in this year.
But of course, all the more important for her to want something passed like this, ethics is certainly something you can run on, particularly when there are questions about transparency, crime, what else the administration has accomplished, to say, oh, look I strengthen ethics ordinances. That would be something.
And her brand, like going back to her inauguration, has been beating up older people and saying, tisk, 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 tisk. So what better way to do that than increasing the amount of money they have to pay for doing wrong?
Yeah, very good point.
Build up city coffers.
All right, so there's also the mayor's proposal to go after gang profits. It is still stalled. Heather, what's holding this up?
Well, there's just not 26 votes, and this has been on the table for nearly 7 months at this point, and nobody is quite sure what the mayor can do to get it to pass the city council. And I think the fact that her gas card and CTA pass giveaway only passed by 1 vote today shows you just how strongly the mayor is struggling with winning support on the city council. Many people I talked to today say it's dead. I should note that I would love to be able to tell you what Mayor Lightfoot thought about today's meeting. I can't. She left halfway through the meeting to go to Washington, D.C. for a meeting with other mayors. She did not hold her typical press conference, so you guys will just have to stay tuned.
Until the next one. So last weekend, the mercury hit the 80s and the most violent weekend of the year ensued. Paris, how secure is Superintendent Brown in his position right now?
Well, again, going back to the fact that the mayor is up for re-election in less than a year, and the mayor's fate is tied to Brown's fate. Brown was her big choice to run that. So I would assume it is safe for now, barring a kind of disaster, even though if you speak to older people, they're none too happy with the way things have gone. If you look at last weekend, they want to plan for the warmer months. It's not only with the violence, but then groups of folks causing trouble on Michigan Avenue and on State Street. And if that happens over the summer, that's going to make a lot of older people real upset.
And
Well,
Heather,
and it seems like there's some tension. Sorry, Brenda. It's just
Go ahead.
where there's a demand for action, for change, for something. Of course, people want this crime stopped in anything that can be done. And at the same time as there are calls for change from the CPD, there's also a criticism that Brown has too quickly and too often changed the plans, and that by constantly moving officers from one tactic to another in order to fight crime, that there hasn't been any sort of lasting opportunity to really go at it, see what works, see what isn't, and that's a frustration for officers as well.
Heather, what about alder people? Does Brown have their support?
So it's really hard to tell. Nobody is calling for his firing, although, of course, Alderman Ray Lopez, who is running for mayor, said the first thing he would do if elected would be to fire Brown. And I get the sense that the support for Brown on the council is relatively shallow because these alder people know that their re-election bids hinges on this summer remaining peaceful and not as violent in years past. One note, we are finally approaching creating a new civilian oversight board for the police. We got some nominees for an interim commission today. That board would have the power to issue a vote of no confidence in the superintendent, which I think will change the dynamic at City Hall in questions like these quite significantly once it's up and running.
Okay, so let's talk about the casino quickly before we move on. Heather, we heard this week that the mayor is asking these 3 finalists who are bidding to get the casino license to pay as much as $75 million up front. What is that supposed to be for?
Well, the mayor wants to be able to say, look, I brought a casino to Chicago. It's been 30 years in the works. I got it done. And not only that, but they are paying us handsomely for the privilege of being here so we can bank that money. And, you know, nobody quite knows what the city's budget is going to look like next year. But if it is drenched in red ink, this can help that because it will help defray those fire and police pensions that the city is going to be struggling to pay for, you know, really the rest of our lifetimes.
Now, based on our conversation with some aldermen again last night, it seems there's a lot of opposition, though. Take a look.
This is a union town. We want to make sure that working families are going to be working at these projects. And if it's non-union, I'm telling you right now, it's a no-go for me.
About 80% of the residents are strongly opposed. It's not even close. I can't swim against such a tide of opposition in my neighborhood, and I'm not going to, nor should I.
We're going to have to take a hard look at the other 2 on the table, but right now the hard lock proposal in my community is dead on arrival.
Oof. So Paris, is there a plan here that would, you know, secure a majority of the council support?
Brandis, I am not a betting person, but if I were, I would say yes, there will be a winner because the majority of council members support the idea of a casino in Chicago. They just don't want it in their backyard. So it means that aldermanic prerogative here is not going to be a thing. And it's going to come down to some of these sweeteners. You heard that first bite about labor. Labor has flexed its muscle here. They're saying make these union jobs, make them good paying union jobs. So the proposal that does that, saying we're going to have 200 great paying union card whatever they're called, that do the blackjack or whatever. So you can tell I don't spend any time in casinos. that older people obviously listen to labor, and that might get a lot of people on board. So I would predict something will win the day, even over the opposition of that area's alder person.
So the feds, we know they are insisting on a jury trial for 4 people who are accused of conspiring to bribe former House Speaker Michael Madigan. Amanda, remind us who's on trial and then tell us why are federal prosecutors insisting on a jury trial in this case?
So probably most significantly on trial is Madigan's best buddy dating back to their days serving together in the House. And that is Mike McLean, who was a lobbyist for ComEd, as well as a couple of other ComEd lobbyists. And then most significantly, ComEd's former, and then went on to serve actually as Exelon's leader, that is Ann Primajori. So this is separate from the trial that eventually Mike Madigan himself will be on, the former Illinois House Speaker, but it is certainly related. This is this whole bribery scheme in which they are alleged to have conspired to really use their resources, be it board positions or other jobs, including some where nobody really had to show up in order to try to curry favor with Madigan while he was Speaker of the House in order to pass legislation that would really boost ComEd's profits. So you had their attorneys requesting a bench trial, which you don't see a lot of. And that to us really says that They didn't really like the headlines. I'm not sure how many people really love ComEd, their utility. You just think, again, as I reported earlier, of paying your electric bill and the notion of a lobbyist. That's not something that sits well with a lot of people. Plus, again, energy stuff is really complicated. So perhaps that is surely why you had the defendants seeking a trial instead that would be determined by a judge rather than jurors. But you had prosecutors say, we want to take this and leave this with the people.
Amanda, we've just got a little bit of time left, but the issues of ethics have been raised in the Cook County Assessor's race with the incumbent, Prince Kagi, blasting his main opponent. 30 seconds. What's the issue?
So there are a lot of issues in this race. Kagi facing criticism for for property bills that are going out late, as well as just skyrocketing property bills as he looks to redo this. His opponent is Carrie Steele, who currently leads the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. Her husband is a lobbyist for a real estate group. She says that her husband will not ever lobby the assessor's office were she to win, but that is certainly drawing skepticism given previous ethics issues with that office that led to Kagi.
So probably more to talk about next week on Spotlight. Thanks to Heather Sharon, Amanda Vinicky, and Para Schutz.